All right, our next unit is called Financial Decisions. We are going to just talk about how we make financial decisions and what factors into that. So let me move myself. What contributes to the decisions that you make? Your financial decisions stem from your values and your needs and also your wants. So let's look at your note-taking guide. Make sure you've got that pulled up and ready to go in DocHub. And the first question is, what is a value? So value is defined as a fundamental belief or practice about what is desirable, worthwhile, and important to an individual. So long answer there, but basically it just means what you feel is important. And that's going to vary by person. And factors. Okay. Give you a chance to write that down. All right. Everybody has different values. Your values could be honesty. You could find that that is a very, very important thing to you. Helping others, family, education, financial security, or a lot of other things. So, two examples of values that you can put. Do I have this in a influencer's value? No, I think this is the one. For the next blanks on your note-taking guide, you're going to talk about two examples of values that could be from this slide or from your own brain. And what influences those values? It could be your family members, how you were raised. That influences your values, your friends or peers, meaning those about your age. Your teachers could have influenced your values, the culture that you live in. Your values may be completely different than someone who lives in a completely different country or who comes from a different ethnic background. That's just going to be an influential factor. And also from the media, we can't discount that sometimes we value certain things because of what we see on TV, on social media, uh, etc. And oh, that was on a blank, two blanks on the note-taking guide. So make sure you fill those in. And needs versus wants. So needs are defined as goods or services, and this is on your note-taking guide, goods or services that are required for survival. So you have to have a place to live, you have to have clothing, you have to have food. Those are requirements. But beyond that, you could even say that, yes, I have to have a place to live, but I have to have a house or whatever. And it has to have air conditioning, or it has to have running water, or plumbing in general, electricity. You could include those things as part of the needs because they're kind of part of the necessity of having a home. And wants would be the desire for goods and services that can increase our quality of life. It can make us happier. It can make us have a better life, but they are not absolutely necessary for survival. So hopefully you can think of some things in both of those categories. Wants, you could say a need would be that I need a way to get to work or to school. I want my own car, a brand new car even. So there's two things competing for your money and your attention, and you have to kind of weigh the benefits of each and decide what work is going to work for you. Obviously, if you have all the money in the world, you can get whatever you want, but most of us don't have that situation. All right. What are your needs and wants? The perception of your needs versus your wants is dependent on your personal values. So it could be for one person, they could feel like having family close to them is a need because that's something that's very important to them. It's an important part of their life. Maybe it helps their well-being, social well-being, and emotional well-being. But another person might not like their family, or they might not want to be around their family for other reasons, and therefore that's not an important thing for them. So you can maybe think of an example of where one person's want would be another person's need. And you can think of that in your own brain. What are your needs and wants? Oops, went too far. So looking at this list, you can maybe think of things that you feel are a need or you feel are a want, and just kind of think of it as I'm running through this. Name brand clothing, need or want. A daily soda or coffee beverage, need. Is it really? Okay, it's not really. I could live without it, right? I could live without it. Just like it. Personal automobile. So somebody who lives in the city is maybe not going to see that as a need because they can get around by walking places or public transportation. But where we live, you would not want to walk 20 miles to get to school every day, or there would be no public transportation option for you. So that is going to be a need or a want based on where the person lives, what their situation is. A music streaming subscription, is that a want or a need? If I ask my children, they would say it's a need. I think it's a want. A refrigerator. So 100 years ago, when there weren't refrigerators, I don't know, maybe it's more than 100 years ago, they had other ways of keeping their food preserved. So a refrigerator was definitely not a need. Now it's the only way we use to preserve our food. So to preserve, that kind of food. Anyway, so it could be a need in today's world. At least 3 meals per day. Shoes. Watching or participating in athletic activities. A computer. A warm and safe place to live. A television. So, based on your situation, your circumstances, your place in life, what era you are living in, these could all be considered needs or wants to different people. And that's the point. So, why do needs and wants matter? Distinguishing between needs and wants and the consequences of your spending decisions will help you determine what to spend and not spend your money on. Trade offs and opportunity costs help you to consider these alternatives and consequences. So, let's look more at what trade offs and opportunity costs means, what that's all about. Okay, what did I do to my hair? That looks dumb. Whatever. So trade-off is defined as, and this is on your note-taking guide, giving up one thing for another. Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty easy to remember. So if I have $10 and I buy a soda, that's not right, a meal at Subway for it, then I am giving up the $10 that I had and I'm getting the Subway meal instead. Um, let's make it a little bit different and say if you give up the come on. Okay, I couldn't think of a good example and I just froze. So I'm back. Okay, so let's think of it this way. Maybe you are giving up an evening by yourself to go out and spend time with a friend who just needs a listening ear. So you're getting to spend time with your friend, but what you're giving up is time alone. So trade offs don't have to be about money, they don't have to be about something that costs the same amount. It can be your time, your energy, or whatever else. But just think of if you are getting this thing, then you are giving up something else. That could just mean whatever else I could have spent that money on. And opportunity cost is defined as the value of the next best alternative that must be forgone as a result of the decision. And I think we're going to have some examples here. Maybe not. Okay. Um, so think of this one as okay, I've got $200 in, and I can choose to pay more on my car payment so that I can pay it off faster, or I could choose to put it in savings so that I've got a buffer, or I could choose to um, buy some new clothes. So here's some different opportunities I have to spend that money. And if I choose any one of them, then the cost of that choice is that I can't do the other things. That and trade-offs feels to me like very close together, but basically you're just with trade-offs, you're talking about two very distinct choices for something, or if you choose anything, then you're giving up one specific thing or time or whatever. And with opportunity cost, you're just saying, okay, if I take this job, I'm giving up the opportunity to have all these other jobs. And it's more of a like a direction, like I'm going in this direction, therefore I'm no longer going in that direction. Whereas trade-off is more of like you're going to do this all day long. You're going to make these little decisions. Do I want this or this? And if I have this, then I can't have this. So that's basically what that's all about. Uh, and I think that's all on your note-taking guide. I've got just a couple of more slides here to kind of wrap this up. Why is it important to understand what influences your decisions? What if understanding what influences your decisions will create this more decisions that have uh, potential to create high well-being in your life. And you can think of all of this as a cupcake. So you've got needs, wants, and values. So when making spending decisions, make sure that your needs are met before spending on any of your wants. You've got to have the cupcake before you can have the icing. You can't just have the icing. So the needs would be the cupcake and the wants would be the icing. Those extra items that make it extra good and pretty, those are the wants, but you got to have the cupcake before you can have the icing. So think of that. And then what you determine is cupcake versus icing is going to come back down to your personal values. Thanks for listening.